Las Vegas keeps expanding because when you really look at it, Las Vegas doesn't grow randomly. It grows in a very specific pattern. First, companies move in, then jobs follow, people move to take the jobs, and once that happens, housing demand shows up right behind it. Las Vegas isn't growing by accident. It's growing by design. And here's where it gets interesting. The same forces attracting companies to Las Vegas are the exact forces shaping where people end up living inside the valley. So before we talk about housing, we need to understand why businesses are choosing Las Vegas in the first place. But before we get into that, I'm Giacomo. And on this channel, we break down how Las Vegas market actually works, the growth, the economies, and the forces shaping where people live. First, we'll look at why businesses are moving here. Then we'll talk about how the city keeps expanding. After that, we'll look at how population growth shows up as housing. And finally, we'll break down where different buyers tend to land across the valley. So let's get started with the first piece of the puzzle. When companies decide where to relocate or expand, those decisions are never random. They're strategic. And right now, there are four major reasons driving companies towards Las Vegas. One of the biggest reasons companies move to Nevada comes down to taxes. Nevada offers something very few states do. No personal income tax, no corporate income tax, no franchise tax, and no inventory tax. For companies relocating from higher tax states, that difference can present massive long-term savings. And we're already seeing major firms take advantage of that. Examples include Andreessen Horowitz, one of the largest venture capital firms in the world, has moved several corporate entities to Nevada. Another is Fidelity National Financial, a Fortune 500 financial service company with major operations based here in Las Vegas. And this tax environment plays a big role in the broader growth story we're seeing across the valley, something we'll get back to when we start looking at where housing demand shows up. But taxes alone don't drive relocation decisions. Reason number two has to do with the legal environment companies work in. Nevada has also developed a corporate-friendly legal framework, including specialized business courts known as the Nevada Business Court, designed to attract corporations and long-term investment. One example is Americo, headquartered right here in Las Vegas area and operating one of the largest moving and logistics companies in North America. But there's another major shift happening in Las Vegas that may be even more important long-term. Reason number three. For decades, Las Vegas depended heavily on gaming and tourism. But over the last several years, the city has been aggressively diversifying industries like sports, technologies, logistics, and advanced infrastructure. That diversification matters because it reduces risk. If one industry slows down, the entire economy doesn't slow down with it. You can see that shift clearly with the arrival of major sports franchises. Examples include the Las Vegas Raiders, Oakland Athletics, and then the technology space companies like Switch have built some of the largest data center campuses in the world right here in Nevada. And that diversification has ripple effects throughout the housing market, something we'll explore when we look at how different parts of the valley are expanding. But there's one more factor that makes Las Vegas extremely attractive to businesses. Reason number four comes down to geography and infrastructure. Las Vegas sits within one-day drive from major western markets like Los Angeles, Phoenix, Salt Lake City. That makes the valley an ideal hub for manufacturing, distribution, and logistics. But that connectivity doesn't stop there. Harry Reid International Airport sits just minutes away from Las Vegas Strip, making it one of the most convenient airport-to-city connections in the country. And projects like Brightline West, the planned high-speed rail line connecting Las Vegas to Southern California, could make that connection even stronger. Companies with major regional operations here include Coca-Cola, Mars, Sherwin-Williams. When you combine Nevada's tax environment, corporate-friendly legal structure, and strategic location, you start to see why so many companies are choosing to establish operations here. What that all creates is momentum. Business move in, job follow, people move to take those jobs, and when population grows, that momentum eventually shows up in one place, the housing market. But that raises another question. How does Las Vegas keep expanding to handle that growth? Because many American cities are more than 200 years old and eventually run into limits, land, infrastructure, and space to build. Las Vegas is different. In many ways, it's still a young city. Modern expansion accelerated after the construction of the Hoover Dam. And economically speaking, Las Vegas is still very much in a growth stage, not in its maturity stage. And I'm curious, if you were relocating a business, would taxes influence where you move? Let me know in the comments. So when you hear about companies moving here and population increasing, the next logical question becomes, how does Las Vegas keep expanding to handle that growth? And the answer actually starts with geography. Las Vegas sits inside a valley surrounded largely by federally managed land. That means that the city doesn't expand through uncontrolled sprawl the way many older cities did. Instead, the land is typically released in phases, which allow growth to happen in a much more controlled way. That's why Las Vegas doesn't usually grow neighborhood by neighborhood. It grows master plan by master plan. And another pattern you'll notice is where these communities are located. Many of the major master plan communities sit along the edges of the valley, almost like the city is expanding outward in 4 directions. It means west we have Summerlin, north we have Skye Canyon, south we have Inspirada, and east we have Cadence. So instead of random growth, you see the city expanding towards the edges of the valley through these large master plan communities. And these communities aren't built all at once. They typically unfold in phases over 20 to 30 years as population and infrastructure catch up. City planners and developers constantly study the same forces we talked about earlier: migration, patterns, job growth, and economic expansion. In other words, growth in places like Summerlin, Skye Canyon, Inspirada, and Cadence isn't speculation. It's a response to the real economic forces already shaping the city. So when you combine controlled land release, long-term master planning, and infrastructure built ahead of demand, you start seeing how Las Vegas has been able to keep expanding decade over decade. So if businesses are moving here and jobs are growing, that means one thing: all these people need a place to live. And Las Vegas has a very specific way of absorbing that growth. The city expands through master plan communities. Examples include Summerlin, Skye Canyon, Inspirada, Cadence. But here's something very important to understand. Now, every master plan attracts the same buyer, because the people moving to Las Vegas aren't all coming for the same reason. So the next step is to start looking how different master plan communities across the valley line up with those buyers. So on the west side, we have Summerlin. Summerlin tends to attract relocators and lifestyle buyers. It's one of the most established and amenity-rich communities in the valley, and prices there tend to sit on the higher end of the Las Vegas Valley market. Many people moving there are bringing equity from higher price markets and are more looking for established neighborhoods, outdoor access, and strong amenities. And Summerlin has built that reputation around exactly that: parks, golfs, trails, and proximity to Red Rock Canyon. Move north and you start seeing communities like Skye Canyon. Skye Canyon tends to attract families and newer relocators looking for newer construction and more spacing, often at prices that are still more attainable than some of the older west side communities. Because the area is still expanding, you often see more modern homes and newer neighborhood planning. Because they're towards the south, you have newer neighborhoods like Inspirada. Inspirada attracts lifestyle buyers and families who want the Henderson side of the valley. It sits on one of the fastest growing areas near West Henderson, where development has been expanding steadily. Pricing there usually sits somewhere in the middle to upper range, depending on the neighborhood and on the type of home. Pricing on the east side of the valley, you'll find communities like Cadence. Cadence has attracted many first-time buyers and newer homeowners because it offered some of the more attainable new construction opportunities in the valley. And the eastern side of Henderson continues expanding. Communities like Cadence have become a major part of that growth story. So when you step back and you look at the valley this way, something interesting starts to appear. Las Vegas isn't just growing. It grows in patterns. Different buyers, different communities, different growth corridors. When you connect all those pieces together, you start to realize something important about Las Vegas. The city isn't growing randomly. It's growing systematically, driven by jobs, migration, infrastructure, and long-term planning. And if you're watching this because you're thinking about moving to Las Vegas, buying here, or even investing here, understanding how the city expands can make a huge difference in deciding where in the valley might actually fit you best. So if you enjoy breaking down Las Vegas market like this, the economics, the growth patterns, and how the housing market really works, make sure you subscribe. And remember, on this channel, we don't talk fluff. We break down how the Las Vegas market actually works.